Order, please. Before we start regular proceedings today, I have the honour of following a strong established parliamentary tradition as we welcome a new member to the House of Assembly. I have the task today of welcoming Ms. Lisa Dempster, who's been recently elected in a by-election for the district of Cartwright-Lanceclere. And I've been advised by the clerk that the member has taken the oath of office, the oath of allegiance to the Crown as required by the Constitution, and has signed the member's roll. The Chair would like to welcome Ms. Dempster as she's been escorted by the Leader of the Official Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, I introduce Ms. Lisa Dempster, the member for Cartwright-Lanceclere, who wishes to take her seat.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Please take your seat.
The Honourable, the member for Cartwright-Lanceclere.
Mr. Speaker, I know it's only my first day in the House, but the good people of Cartwright-Lanceclere never elected me to see how comfortable the seats were in the House of Assembly. Mr. Speaker, it is with great pride and a humble spirit that I rise today to pay tribute to a beautiful piece of this province, the district of Cartwright-Lanceclere in southern Labrador. First, I'd like to thank my family, my hard-working campaign team, and my loyal supporters for believing in me. Without them, my successful outcome would not have been possible. Mr. Speaker, I grew up in the small community of Charlottetown on Labrador's southeast coast, a community of about 350 people. It is a thriving little town, and we are proud to say that we are home to the only shrimp processing facility in Labrador, a plant that employs about 120 people from several communities. Mr. Speaker, my grandfather, Ben Powell Sr., who will be 93 in February, left Carbonear in 1936 when he was just 15 years old. At that time, 85,000 Newfoundlanders were on what he called able-bodied welfare. Every day he would walk to the beach, look out over the ocean and say to himself, somewhere there has to be a better life. He came to Labrador to fish for the summer with his older brother. He stayed that winter to trap, and from there, as they say, the rest is history. With only a grade 3 education, he became a very successful businessman and accomplished much in his life. Together with my grandmother, Ann Effie Powell, as she was affectionately known, they raised a large family, of whom I, as the oldest grandchild, was privileged to be a part of. He instilled in us a firm work ethic and a belief that hard work and determination could take you just about anywhere you wanted to go. I am the only child of Glenda Golding of Point Leamington, a now retired nurse. My dad, Lester Powell, an icon in the aviation industry, have spent more than 4 decades flying the skies of Labrador and have saved many lives through successful medevac flights. I make my home in Charlottetown with my supportive husband and beautiful daughter. Mr. Speaker, I am proud of the legacy of my family. I moved away from home for a brief period only to pursue post-secondary studies. I have spent the last 2 decades working and volunteering in my community, district, and province, so I know firsthand the many issues that plague our community and our people. It was during the crisis time of the closure of the cod fishery in the early 90s that I fully realized my greatest passion was in helping people. I became actively involved on many boards and committees. I spent 7 years heavily rooted in the literacy needs of the region. Our people were without jobs. Many were without a high school education. Our towns were in turmoil. I served for 8 years as a trustee with the Labrador-Grenfell Regional Health Authority and was instrumental in helping to set up the Provincial Career Practitioners Board. From my role as deputy mayor in my town, I went on to represent every town in Labrador on the Provincial Municipalities Board. It was through all those experiences that I learned of the inadequacies and injustice that abound in so many of our towns. But, Mr. Speaker, through it all, I maintained hope. hope of a better quality of life for the people of my homeland. As I got more heavily involved in Memorial University's Faculty of Medicine through the Admissions Committee and the Aboriginal Health Initiative, I saw that clearly there is hope. It is in educating our youth and giving them opportunities that our forefathers and mothers never had. With this realization comes the added emphasis on education. One day, the students we are supporting will be the leaders in our Labrador. They will do things differently. They will not sit idly by and accept mediocre when we can be great. They will not accept the exploitation of our resources for other towns while our small towns are bleeding out. Mr. Speaker, we are struggling now, but the time will come when Labrador will finally take her rightful place on the stage and be accepted for the value that she holds and the jewel in the crown that she is to this province. I truly believe that. Mr. Speaker, the District of Cartwright-Landsaclare has a population of 4,000 people that make up our 20 communities and stretches some 600 kilometres. We have a qualified workforce. We are ready to fill jobs. Our people have been working away and living at home for generations, and now we have work in our own province, but the provision, sadly, is still not there for many of them. Mr. Speaker, it is also important to highlight the presence of two Aboriginal groups in my district, the Southern Inuit of Nunatuavut, of which I am a proud member, and the Inuit from the Nunatsiavut government. This is a people who have their own unique culture, heritage and tradition, and we must work with them to ensure their rights are protected. Mr. Speaker, we have many things to be proud of in my district. Perhaps paramount would be the Labrador Fishermen's Union Shrimp Company. This company is owned by the fisher people of Labrador from Landsaclare to Paradise River. They are producers of high-quality products such as cod, shrimp, scallops, snow crab, capelin, and other species caught in the cold, clean waters of Labrador. Mr. Speaker, they started with a mandate to create jobs in Labrador by developing the inshore fishery and fish plants. Today, they have plants in Lansaloo, Mary's Harbour, Cartwright, Charlottetown, and Penson's Arm. They employ more than 600 people on a seasonal basis and serve some 800 fishermen. We are also very grateful, Mr. Speaker, to this company for the presence of the Eagle River Credit Union, the only financial institution in my district. In 1984, after a bank pulled out of the region, our fisher people decided to establish their own. The Eagle River Credit Union, with a strong backing from the Labrador Fishermen's Union Shrimp Company, became very successful in the town of Lansaloo with branches in Mary's Harbour and Cartwright. Mr. Speaker, although I have shared with you two success stories from my district, we are not without our struggles. We have many towns that do not have their most basic infrastructure needs met. We have tourism attractions that we have not begun to capitalize on, from the Jersey Trails in Landsaclare to the Point of Moore Lighthouse and the Labrador Pioneer Footpath. We have Red Bay, which just recently celebrated receiving UNESCO World Heritage status. We have Battle Harbour, a step back in time to when cod was king, the majestic Wonder Strands, and the National Mealy Mountain Park Reserve. We now need a tourism development officer to help us market those attractions. Mr. Speaker, there is evidence all around that when transportation and energy needs are met, economies flourish. Yet our small businesses are paying an astronomical commercial electrical rate. This is a deterrent for business growth, expansion, and new business startup. Where are the cheaper commercial rates promised in the Northern Strategic Plan 3 years ago? Mr. Speaker, our dilapidated ferry, coupled with the 20-year-old inadequate ferry schedule that changes 7 times in the run of a year, has to go if we are to move forward. We have 35-year-old pavement in the Labrador Straits that is unsafe to drive on, while the rest of the district has a gravel road that most times is in a deplorable condition, not to mention health hazards from the dust. We have huge communication needs like cell coverage and broadband. We are promoting Red Bay and world markets, and yet residents are on a dial-up service. Martin Luther King had a dream that one day his 4 children would live in a nation where they would be judged by the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Mr. Speaker, I also have a dream that one day the people of Labrador, and in particular the people of Cartwright Landsaclair, will live in a world where they do not feel like second-class citizens. I have a dream that one day basic needs like water and sewer will be given for every household, that our children's education will not be compromised by allowing them to learn in triple-grade classrooms, and children who leave home to pursue post-secondary studies will have jobs to return home to. I have a dream that one day people living in Labrador will be the primary beneficiaries of large-scale industrial developments, reaping real benefits from multi-billion-dollar projects happening in our own backyard. I have a dream that seniors who live in rural areas will have affordable access to quality health care, and that small, unconnected communities like Norman Bay, Williams Harbour, and Black Tickle will have access to clean drinking water, an affordable hydro bill, and a reliable transportation network to get them to and from their homes. Muskrat Falls, Mr. Speaker, has there been anything more debated in the history of our province? My grandmother used to say, if it's doubtful, it's dirty. If that rings true for this project, then it's got to be the dirtiest endeavour our province have ever been connected to. It started out being a $6 billion project. Now we are expecting it to be more than $8 billion. And if Emera pulls out, we lose the loan guarantee. That means another $1 billion for our grandchildren to pay for. Mr. Speaker, while many parts of the world are researching ways to use wind and small hydro, government has barred this in our province and is ploughing ahead, creating permanent destruction of our lands and waterways. And what's worse, Mr. Speaker, is the fact that there is nothing in it for the people who live next to it. Where are the principles of adjacency rule and primary beneficiaries evident in this major development? Massive towers will run through and over our land, yet our people won't even receive power from it. It is very difficult to get the people who live in my area to see the fairness in all of that. We also have to ensure that any type of development is done in an environmentally friendly way so that the footprint left behind on the landscape is minimal. The environment, Mr. Speaker, we are more educated than ever before on the necessity of being environmentally friendly. Yet, in Cartwright Landsaclair, we are lagging far behind. We have dumps, yes, garbage dumps, that are filled to capacity. Crowhead in the Labrador Straits is one example of this. It's been 10 years since studies were carried out and recommendations put forth, but we are still waiting for action. There is not one single sanitary landfill site in my district. Mr. Speaker, we must continue to ensure the fishery survives as an industry, as it is the backbone of my district and many others. We all watched the demise of the cod stocks from poor management in the early 90s, and I have to ask, have we learned from that? We are concerned about crab stocks, and yet we are using resources to pay for exploratory surveys while government shrinks from its responsibility to pay for them. We must work together to ensure the Hot Channel remains closed to shrimpers and gill knitters if we are to protect our crab stocks. We need to work on new initiatives. We need to work together to access quotas for new fisheries like redfish, herring, mackerel, and turbot. Mr. Speaker, we have aging demographics throughout the province, and Cartwright Landsaclair is no exception. We have many concerns in health care. We are currently spending 40 cents on every dollar, and yet clearly not meeting the need. Our province has the highest rate of diabetes in the country. It is critical that we place more emphasis on prevention and education. Mr. Speaker, services like ground transportation in St. Anthony must stay in place because the hospital is 55 kilometres from the airport, and patients, most of whom are seniors, cannot afford to pay this cost up front and wait 4 to 6 months for reimbursement, which is the norm under our current medical transportation program. Home care is becoming an increasing pressing issue. and we cannot rest until it is addressed. We have lost so much in services to our rural towns in recent years. Our zone boards played a valuable role in coordinated economic development, and I can tell you now, Mr. Speaker, the loss of those boards through recent cuts is being keenly felt throughout my district. EAS offices played a vital role in helping people find meaningful employment. And at a time now when the labour market have never been stronger in Labrador, we are going to end up with more people on income support. 5 offices in my district recently closed because this government did not see value in the work they did. There was no duplication of services in our small town. Mr. Speaker, we have had strong representation in the district of Cartwright-Lanceclair for nearly 2 decades. A young woman as tough as the land she comes from has set the bar high for me. I pledge to work equally as hard to ensure the voice of my constituents is heard. Someone once told me, "You will know when you have done some good for a place if you leave it better than you have found it." As I embark on this new career, that will be my challenge, to fight for fairness and equality for the constituents of Cartwright-Lanceclair. Mr. Speaker, do I believe the things I dream of for my district will come easy? No. But I close with a quote by Calvin Coolidge, who was the 30th President of the United States, because it encourages me that change is possible. He said, "Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful men with talent. Genius will not. Unrewarded genius is almost a proverb. Education alone will not. The world is full of educated derelicts. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent." I look forward to working with the Liberal caucus and my other colleagues in the House, and to participating in lively debate and discussion on important matters affecting the people of this province. Most importantly, I look to the Creator for wisdom and guidance to make right choices and right decisions each day as a leader in my district, both inside and outside the House of Assembly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.